Hello mayors, hello mayoresses, how are you all doing? I hope you're well.
We're here to start another episode of Barbazzini Island, our vanilla island. Well, if you like this series where we start the episode with a first-person tour, go ahead and leave your like at the beginning of the video. If you're not subscribed, I also ask you to consider subscribing. Alright, now let's continue our expansion. Well, in the last City Skylines 2 video, I showed you an Assasum.com. Now, it's already out, right? You can already get the 2 new content creator packs that we have available, right? One for offices, right? It adds new office buildings, and the other one adds transport buildings, right? Train station, tram station, subway station. And it turned out really cool, and I'll try to use them in this episode. We're at the train station here in our city, actually. Our most historic neighborhood, right? And this train goes straight to the Japanese city. And here is our Japanese city, right? In all its fullness. There's a traffic jam here. Let me see what's going on. Most likely it's because of this parking lot here, this parking building that's really full. I'm going to add another floor here, but I'm going to make it really expensive. That way, it also discourages people from using cars, right? After all, we have a tram line here, man. Come by public transport. The tram fare is 0, so there's no excuse. And regarding frequency, there's one here. It's actually pretty full, and the other one, man, the other one is still far away. On the other side, it's going to make the turn. So I'm going to come over here to our storage to show you that I replaced the storage we had here, which was much bigger than this one. This yard here, look, it's really big. It used to fit 10 vehicles. This one fits 12 vehicles. It fits more, using less space. And it can still be improved here, expanding from 12 to 18 vehicles. And man, let's get more streetcars running here. After all, they're pretty full, right? This one's packed. This one's packed. And here, look, in this part of the line, there aren't any vehicles running yet. In fact, there's a station here, a stop with 116 people waiting. And the next streetcar that's coming is already full. Actually, this one here, look, has 483 people. This stop here is extremely crowded. Okay, man? So I think it's worth adding more cars to the fleet and reducing the interval time between one streetcar and another. So if we have 20 vehicles, I'll put 14 here. Let's double it and see how it turns out. One of the really cool things that came with this batch of additions from the new content creator pack is this right here. Look, the walkways, okay? And I've always wanted to have walkways here because actually this is a road, right? But we needed to connect. What? The street from the industrial district to the bike path and the path here, and now with these walkways, theoretically, it's possible. Let's see if we can position it here. It's going to have to be this big one here. Look, precisely to increase the safety of those who are going to cross the road here. So I'm going to remove these stripes here. Look, this one can still be here, and they're already using it. Look, they're already crossing. Let's switch to first-person view so we can see how it is. It's right here. Look, this crossing, right? Inside the platform, it's really nice. There are some benches. You can see the highway. And it's much safer, right? People can cross here calmly without the problem of high-speed vehicles. And then I'm going to put it here too. Look, at this other intersection. And here it's also very important because after all, we have a bus stop ready. Look, here it is too. And people can already start, as they're already doing, to cross from one side to the other easily, right? And we eliminate the need for a crosswalk on the highway, man. We can even do it on these other roads here because we have the village here, right? For the oil workers, and there's the industry. And we can make this crossing easier too. I just think, that this should be a free addition, right? Not tied to the downloadable content, right? But anyway, something I really wanted to talk to you guys about, right? About the entrances here to our 2 biggest villages, right? This one here, the first one, the historical story, right? And this one here, the second one, in a more Asian style. Well, it was causing a lot of problems. I'll leave the images here for you to take a look at how problematic this entrance was. In both villages, in both neighborhoods, these are intersections that already came with the map. And to be honest, I never liked them from the beginning. And I always thought that at some point I would have to replace them. That entrance for 2 directions there on the road connected to a roundabout and the access ramps, Never really pleased me. And since the problem with entering and exiting the neighborhoods was happening so often, I decided to erase everything, demolish there and build a more robust intersection, right? I tried not to overdo the size so we wouldn't take up too much space with highways and access ramps, keeping them compact but still very functional. And for that, I used the cloverleaf intersection design. Which I've been using a lot since the last series in Cities Skylines 2 here on the channel, our Bahia de Barbosa series, right? And it's a really good intersection to handle medium to high traffic. It's good, why? Because it's cheap, you don't need to use tunnels, and it only has one overpass, right? We don't need to build a different overpass for each access ramp, for each direction. The more complex intersections, these more complex ones, are bigger. They're more expensive, although yes, they can handle very high traffic. But I don't think that's the case here, especially since our town probably has around 50,000 inhabitants. So this intersection here is just the right size. It uses a single road to provide access to two different directions. So it's very simple, very compact, and it adapts to different terrains, right? Here it adapted really well, and I duplicated the highway here in this part, and then I created the crossing from one side to the other, right? From the village to the farms. After that, the accesses were made the same way. I applied all the lane math, and it fit really well. Here, I really like the intersection. In our community here in the Asian area, it was a little different, since we had to adapt an intersection that comes from a bridge over the water, provide access to enter the city, and provide access to the side highway that's here on the edge of the city. Also, since we're dealing with terrain like this, with water and elevation, after all, we're working with a bridge, it was a bit more difficult, but I ended up choosing to use the same intersection scheme with the clover leaves. I ended up adjusting the terrain a bit, so we could get a little more space. So yes, there was some landfilling work, but not too much, so we could preserve the natural look of the coast. I didn't duplicate the highway here because I think the space is already pretty limited, so it wouldn't fit. And this intersection here also turned out really well. I ended up changing the bridge, I put in a cable-stayed one. I'll show you everything better after the time lapse. And this is proof that this type of intersection is very effective and very compact, because here the terrain is completely different from the terrain at the entrance to our historic village. And even so, it fit very well and adapted very well. And man, I'll tell you, both are perfect, okay? Neither of them is having locking issues anymore. And I'll show you basically how to do this in a very easy way. Basically, here's what you're going to do. You'll get the explanation really quickly here. Look, you're going to take the two-way road and create connections from one side to the other. Like this, in this way, right? Creating a diamond shape. After that, you'll take the one-way roads. Look, and you'll start selecting the right lane, right? Which is the lane that exits. And start doing this, see? These small exits in these triangles, notice that a triangle formed here, another one here, and another one here. And you'll keep doing this, see? In all the triangles, this connection here, see, from one lane to the other, all right? After that, you remove, okay, this duplicated highway here. See, this one, and this one, this one, this one, and this one, and this one. In this part, straight lines here, see? And then you make, right? The access in the other direction here, see, with the curve as well, see, and you. Basically, you'll already have your intersection, so it's very easy, very simple, and compact as well. Okay, after that, right? The next step is just, see, to build the overpass here on top. I even suggest starting with the overpass so you don't have problems with the access ramps later, in case the space is small. But then, look, it's done, man. That's it. The rest, look, is just details, right? Prohibit here, see, turns to the wrong side, and also, right? If you want to add the math of the lanes here, adding one, removing another, anyway, that's up to you. Right, but it looks really nice. It's pretty cool, and I imagine that even in real life, it's quite affordable, right? Pretty cheap. Relatively cheap, right? To be implemented, because it's just an overpass, it's totally different from an intersection like this one, right? This one is really expensive, and it has an access ramp, an overpass for each access ramp. But anyway, I'll show you how it turned out here. Look in detail, this new entrance, right? I had to reduce the size of the farm a little bit here. The government paid this farmer here, compensated him for this little piece of land that he had to give up. And man, look at this. It's perfect, right? Here we have, look, the tunnel exit, then lanes are added, right? To help accommodate all the traffic flow. And then people, look, access our ramps here, and like I said, a single road, see, helps both sides, okay? And we keep connecting everything, see? And here we already have access to the avenue with the difference, okay, of what this access is. I put 3 lanes coming in, so there's one here from the overpass and another coming here, look, from the highway. Because I think the arrival of vehicles is much more frequent than the exit. That's why we already arrived with 3 lanes here. I decided to keep the 3 lanes on the avenue at least up to this intersection here. After that, right, the guy can take this street anyway or even leave before, so there's no need to have 3 lanes from here on. And that's how it turned out, right? It turned out really good. Well, okay, right? And it fit nicely with the design here. Notice that the intersections have different layouts, right? This one is a different size, this one is a different size because it's really being adapted to the land. And over here, we have our entrance to the Japanese city, which is the same intersection, right? And I created here, look, a landfill, right? To be able to accommodate this end here, okay, and here. I didn't duplicate the highway, this east-west highway here. I didn't duplicate it, I left just one. Okay, and it's here. With the lane math applied properly, we also have 2 lanes. One exits, then it continues with just 1. Then here there are 2 again because it receives an access ramp. And it's the same mirrored scheme on this side. I put the train track underneath, right? We have a train track here that comes from this other bridge, right? So it goes underneath here to give access to this passenger station. And it even has a little opening here. Look, you can see the train passing through here. It wasn't intentional, it just happened. Then I said, oh, I'll leave it like that. And the special thing about this intersection here is also that this axis that comes from the city to here, Villa Satellite, is a completely walkable axis. So people can, look, leave from here, use the crosswalk, right? And access our new bridge here. I chose this one specifically because it's a cable-stayed bridge. And I thought it would really match the skyline of the Japanese city. And it did, right? This span here between the 2 towers of the bridge, and people can walk across it because it works like an avenue and not like a highway. A lot of people take this route, right? They end up taking this route. I removed the crosswalks that go from one sidewalk to the other, right? I only left these side crosswalks here so people can get down here, right? And here, man, I've already put in, check it out, the new overpass assets to help people cross from one side to the other, right? This one here is still the old style, you know, the one I made with paths, but it turned out pretty cool. And it's the same setup. Look, 3 lanes come in here because there are a lot more vehicles coming in than going out. So, man, is the traffic problem in the Japanese city solved here? So we have this entrance here, really robust, this one, which turned out great, right? I think it looks really nice here, this circuit over here, right? Connecting with this bridge and the other entrance here in the suburbs, already giving direct access to the avenue. And, well, now we have a lot of trams running. I think it might even be a bit too much. They doubled, but some here are nearly empty and passenger numbers have actually dropped, right? There were 559 passengers. It used to be 1,000, right? 1,000 passengers. Yeah, there are a lot of empty vehicles now, okay? So if we had 7, I increased it to 14, I'm going to leave 10 vehicles, right? Let's see how it goes. It'll be fine. And speaking of public transportation, right? We saw that a lot of people are walking around here and we can make things easier, right? With a bus line making this connection, bringing the people who live here who are going to work here in the downtown area with a bus line. So I'm going to take advantage of the fact that we have a bus station here, which is really crowded, by the way. Just look at how many people pass through here, right? A very busy crosswalk here in the city. People are coming in here into the park as well. And we have a more compact terminal here. Look, a small municipal bus station. I think it's going to be more useful than that huge one, okay? So I'm going to delete it. I'll put this compact one not facing the avenue because I think could it cause traffic problems? Yeah, I'll put it over here, okay? And it caused a big bug here because it's a lowered terminal and then it caused a big bug here, right? And I'm not even using Anarchy, okay? So it's not even because of mods. So maybe it would be interesting to put a wall here on this side, right? If I turn it towards the avenue, do you think it would work? it would be better, right, for people to access it. I'm not going to put it exactly here because it would be right on top of the intersection, but maybe here would be better. Look, the lowered ground here, again, I'll do the following. I'll create some paths here that will go around this terminal. See, right? Leaving it more embedded here in the ground without that bug. Not really, but that weird terrain deformation. All right, now I'm going to create the line that will start here, right? And it will go all the way to the big suburb. I don't think it even needs to stop here at this square, okay? It just needs to make a very direct crossing to here. Look, so I'm gonna put the first stop right here on the first block, then one here, right, to serve the people on this side. Yeah, I think I'll go all the way to Fundo, at least to this other corner. No, I think I'll create another line here. Look, east-west, connecting here. Look, no, just one line. I'm not sure. Okay, I'm not sure, but I'll make just one line. Yeah, one stop here, another here. Then, look, I'll come here to the industry, I'll put a stop right here in the middle and make this line go back. I'm even going to use a really strong orange here, almost red, so we can really see the outline of this line. The game generated 6 vehicles here, and I'm going to make it cheaper too. I'll make the fare free, and I'll leave the 6 vehicles as default. Later, we'll see how it goes if the usage is good. Since we put the bus station back here, there's a hospital. I think I'll try to fill in this space now. Right, these blocks with something else that came with these 2 content creators, right? We're using the new assets here, actually. Look, here we could really put a little tree, but it won't work. There's the use of anarchy. Look, with anarchy I can do it, but I'm only using anarchy when it's really necessary. All right, for these little things, I'm gonna do it the hard way. Look, a lot of people are gathered here too, right? We have a tram stop right here on the avenue, and then people gather around the tram stop. So it ended up closing here. Look, pedestrian traffic, right? In this case, and it blocked everything here. This bus here is ignoring the people, but anyway, I don't think it is. This terminal here doesn't have any improvements to accommodate a tram stop, so I'm going to try to move this stop. Stay a bit further back here, right? Let's see how it goes, how people move. If they're going to leave from the middle here, yeah, it got a little better. I'm even going to remove this crosswalk from here. I'll just leave one, right? And I think it's better, but there are still too many crosswalks here, right? Too many traffic lights. I think I'm going to put a footbridge. Maybe that'll solve our problem. I'll remove this crosswalk, this traffic light from here, and then I'll put a footbridge right here. There, all done now. Just remove this crosswalk here and let's see if it gets better here. This transition, right, from the terminal here to the park, it's better now, right? Some people are still crossing here because they had already planned this route, right? So it takes a while to adapt, but a lot of people are already crossing here. Yeah, guys, you think this is easy? A lot of people on this platform here, look, it's the bus that leaves the city, okay? A lot of people arrive and a lot of people leave. All the buses are packed, 80 passengers, 80. They're all packed, right? So a lot of people are using this bus line to get into the city. The local line isn't that full, it's actually being used at a pretty normal level, so that's how it's going to stay. We've improved the flow on this road here and now. Yes, we're going to fill the block with the monuments, right? The ones that came with the content creator. Here we have, look, in the office section, I'll filter here just to show office evolution. Look, there are already 2 offices available, right? The Palace Frankfurt, it's only unlockable at milestone 17. So we can't use it yet, but the Brunswick building can be used here at some point. I don't know, maybe on this corner. This is kind of a flexible corner, right? It's not exactly a 90-degree angle. Let me see this tower. How would it look? Look, the tower would be like this, right? I think it looks pretty cool on this corner here, huh? This one is an office building from the turn of the century that fell into disrepair and was recently used as the base for a stunning skyscraper. So this is the historic building actually, right? And everything else came after. Look, seeing the other offices here, right? This one is from Skycrappers, man. This one is kind of narrow and it would fit perfectly here. I'll put it here to see how it looks and leave it, okay? In this part here, let me take another look at the other offices, which are unique buildings, right? This one isn't even possible, right? If I put it here, man, he doesn't have any small ones for us to use around here, right? Well, I'm gonna zone with the new offices. So here, look, the evolution offices, I'll put them here in this part so we can close it off, right? This block here, facing the park, I think I'm going to put the bigger towers, right? Which in this case are the high-density offices. Just vanilla, it's not from any pack. I'll mix it with a Chinese one here too, just for us. Look, having this area around the park here, right? In the city center, already complete, right? Already closed off. This one is going to be really big, where its crane is coming all the way up here. And another thing, right? While we admire this area, this wall of buildings here that I just placed, right? Karunya is a medium-sized office tower that houses companies operating in the information technology sector and can be upgraded with a college. Look how crazy that is. I don't even know if we have a college deficit. We have a deficit in elementary education. We get a 5% increase in software production throughout the city just by placing it. And the demand for software also grows by 5% in addition to increasing well-being. We can add an auditorium and a research wing, but only if we convert it into a university. Right, man. I don't know if it's worth it now. For now, I'll leave it like this, okay? Now, I want to add something, right? The bike lane system in the city, since we're already working on bus lines, right? Tram lines here, terminal. Let's also focus on active mobility. I wasn't planning on putting a bike lane exactly where the tram goes, okay? I think there will be a lot of conflict having two modes like that on the same road. Maybe I could think of a more alternative route, you know? Especially here, look, which is a road that's pretty continuous along the coast, right? So I think it could easily have a bike lane here. It's even here at the end, all the way to the station. So we get a bike lane right here on this coast. And I think we could do the same thing in the back area. It won't work here because this is a street with parking, but we can put this bike lane in the back area. Look, I would make a lane here, right? For both directions, you see? I brought it from here. Look, here on the outside and here in this part, man. I think we could connect it with the walkway we have back here, so we just need to come and connect it. I don't know if this path here is suitable for a bike lane too, this elevated path here, this walkway, but I can try, right? It does provide shelter. It accommodates both the walkway and the bike lane. We'll just lose the cover, right? But that's okay. Sometimes trouble is good. The person already got rained on coming here, right? All the way up to the walkway, so I think it's fine to remove the cover here. Well, then I'll keep going this way, right? And from here, I'll bring... I think up to this street here, from here, I think I can even bring it to this other street too. It's because this is a highway intersection, right? So maybe it's not that safe, man, but from here I'll extend this bike lane a bit more, right? Up to here, look, here will be the limit. So it will end here on this street. And if you're not really understanding this part, my plan is basically this. Look, it starts here and ends here, going all the way around the city, right? Going around here on the edges of the city, just this part here, see? I still need to connect from here to here, which I don't know exactly how I'm going to do yet. I don't think this is such a busy avenue. I don't know if it would be possible to put a bike lane here, or if I would take the bike lane from here and continue it over there. I think it's even less busy here, right? It makes more sense. The problem is here. Look here, I think there would have to be a bike lane here no matter what. Yeah, it would have to go through here. Look, let's test it, right? Later, if this gets really bad, I'll separate the bike lane from the avenue just here, since it didn't connect, right? For the cyclist, getting out of here and coming over here is very dangerous since they have to cross 4 lanes. That's why I'm gonna try to put, look, another footbridge. And this footbridge here kind of also eliminates the need for this lane over here, together with a traffic light. And then, right, since we have this whole circuit here, right, a U, forming a U, they're 2 very isolated lanes, right? This side over here and this side over here. I'm going to use these streets here, not all of them, but to connect both sides. Okay, and then we're going to cross the avenue, right? And we're going to connect both sides. In this case, this road here, where we end the bike lane, it has to have the connection between both sides of the city, from this coast to the other coast. From here, this one I also think it's good to have. So look, let's put this bike lane here, right? We need to connect both sides. There's a pedestrian crossing here, but I'm going to update both, right? The bike lane and the pedestrian crossing. So look, this connection here, this one, man, I think here it's not really necessary, okay? I think I'm going to put it here. Look, here it will be more useful, I believe. So I would update it here as well, and we can have another conversation. This street doesn't come all the way down here, so look, I'm going to pull it over here. So we have a crossing here, another one right here, one right on this road. And here, look, on these sides of the park, I'm going to leave it without a crossing. There's no bike lane, right? Here around the park. Even because, man, here we have the city entrance. There's a crossing from one side of the city to the other. There's a tram, there's a bus line. So I think it could get really congested. But here, look on this street, right here, look. I'm also going to start another crossing. Connecting this north and south, I think it will be very welcome here too. Well, that's it. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 north-south crossings. In the future, I'll add a 5th one here. Hey, maybe bringing a bike lane from here to here, right? But that will be when I develop this area. I think in this section of the avenue, look, from this point on, since here it's going to be lower density from now on, I think this avenue can have a bike lane. It's also to give bike access to the people here from Fundão, so that's basically the bike lane planning here, where we're going to put the law here, look, to encourage urban cycling and provide several bike racks here. We already have some here, okay? But I think it's really worth having them here near the park in our triangular plazas, right? Next to the park, I'll also put small bike racks, right? Which will be very welcome also. To be honest, I didn't like these offices here. First, they're not really close together here, see? They're not. Wall to wall, and there's a lack of skyscrapers in this part, right? So we can close off the area around the park, so I'm going to remove them, at least from this part. Here I'm going to put some bike racks too, close by, right? Also near the bus station, here on the streets that have bike lanes. Look, I'm also putting a lot of bike racks. Look, under the overpass, there's a really nice bike rack. Look, it's full of bike racks. We can even see here, look, the transition streets, right? With these green notifications for bike racks, right? And let's see if there are already people using them here. Where is it? There's no bike lane here, right? Look, crossing here, there are people on bikes. I don't see anyone for now. Bike lane here. Side. Oh, there is someone. Yes, look, there's already a guy here. But what I have to do is connect, right? The street, right? So people can, look, get off the bike lane. Very important, right? If we forget this point, I believe usability will increase here, right? Now let's just do a panoramic view here. Look, of the whole route, right? And see how the usage is here. Look, here, look, a lot of people using it, but it's not being used that much yet. It's in the other city, over there, in the other historic village, right? People use it more there, but there are also more residents, right? Here, look, we also have a cyclist. Let's look over here where this bike lane, right, joins the avenue. Look, it's pretty empty too, right? This crossing over here is also near the station. I put a bike rack and everything. But it's also pretty empty on this side too. We don't have much of a city, right? Let's look here at the crossings. If people are cycling around here and going, right, to the other side of the city using the bike rack, look, there's a bike parked, but the use is still pretty moderate, right? Look at what a nice city, look at what a good street, right? Here in the other neighborhood, another crossing over there on the other side. Let's also take a look at how the use of this bike lane is right here. Look, here it's already denser, right? Maybe people are using it, right? Yeah, here comes a cyclist. Look, he's coming this way, right? And there's a scooter over there too. We've already seen that. Let's check it out here. Look, over to the other side, it's pretty good. The use here is pretty light, actually good. And just adding one more bike lane right here. Look, right? To help these people go to work by bike too. I'm going to say goodbye to you now. Okay, for this episode, I really hope from the bottom of my heart that you enjoyed it, that you liked it, anything at all. Just call Mayor Barbosa's office and everything will be sorted out, right? And so I'm verbally giving a shout out to Giovanni Freitas, Jose Fernando, Nagal, Pedro Mendes, and Rafuxo for being vice mayors from the channel's members club. They're watching the episode in advance along with our secretaries, whose names also appear here in the credits as a way of saying thanks. And I want to thank you, who are a councilman and the foundation, the pillar of this channel. You are here as well. My gratitude and your name also appearing in the credits as a way of saying thanks, all right? And well, you who are not a member but make it to the end of the episodes, like and comment, are you directly responsible for this channel existing? So here's my strongest hug. We're always together and see you next time. See ya.